Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Sam Elliott64, and welcome to the RoboCast. I'm joined alongside.
And it's 9132 the Robot was Guru.
And Steve, the American Killjoy, who hopefully sounds a lot better this time.
Yes, you're back with us, and you're no longer driving. And we're actually
I'm no longer. Yeah.
We're joined by two guests for this week. Guest number one, introduce yourself.
Hi, my name's Charlie Hubbard. I think I'm known for good Robottal, but the thing that people probably know me more for now is the guy making the big BattleBots 2019 RA2 pack, replicating every robot from the 2019 season.
You're a crazy guy. And guest number two.
I'm Matt Vasquez, the driver of Whiplash.
Matt, welcome back for the second time this season, and
Yeah.
well, we'll obviously get to your fight later, but I want to talk about the repairs first of all, because obviously you had some small, issues after your fight with Minotaur. It wasn't quite at full fitness, I think it's fair to say.
Yeah.
Talk us through it.
After the Minotaur fight, damage done by Minotaur was pretty minimal. We just replaced the bolts, the mount to the wedges. They were a little bit bent, because his drum was still spinning a little bit, and that did a little bit of damage, not very much. We also replaced the front forks with the spatula for the Whyachi fight.
Yeah.
And then, but yeah, problem-wise, the weapon motors went up in smoke in the Minotaur fight, and that was pretty much because the belt tension was too tight, so we weren't getting any slippage.
Yeah.
So we just loosened up the belts a little bit, and that seemed to fix that problem. And the lifter chain broke at one point, and we just swapped that out with a fresh one. And that's pretty much all it was. There really wasn't too much repairs after that fight. We just swapped motors. And...
We got to see some of the stuff that you guys did. You guys got the royal treatment with Jenny Taft.
Oh yeah.
That was it was actually really interesting this week. Obviously, you don't obviously see a lot of the preparation of actually going from the pits to the arena. And this was I think this is the first time that it's been fully shown.
Certainly. Yeah, no, I really like that. That was really cool.
Yeah, it was interesting. Let's certainly say that much. I'm going to come to Charlie quickly because I'm going to plug the hell out of you because you're a crazy guy for attempting to replicate at least 69 machines in Robot Arena 2, especially with how old and how broken that game is.
Yeah, it's a massive undertaking. Actually, funny story. I gotta thank Whiplash in large part for this even happening. Because when the 2018 season rolled around last year, I saw it. I'm like, oh my god, this thing looks so cool. So I did it in RA2, not really having any big plans. And I remember, Matt, you and your whole family, a ton of people were like, this is so cool. And I'm like, maybe I'll just do more of these. And it kind of just spiraled into basically spending 4 months of my life replicating all of those robots, and now spending 4 months of my life replicating all of these.
A labor of love.
Oh.
When it's dropped, then everyone has Charlie to thank. So it'll be worth it, trust me. But just you'll have to wait and see for that one. Well, actually, I'm gonna come to something before we get to episode 5. Obviously, for those that didn't see the 4th episode version on Science Channel, we didn't actually get to see that this week because it was due July the 4th, and obviously, Science Channel decided to change their scheduled programming. So we are yet to see Foxtrot and Death Roll.
it really throws everything into a tizzy now because now we're behind.
Yeah, everything's
we're already behind because it's late. The Wednesday episodes come out later, and it's
Yeah, so we'll be reviewing.
Of us.
Yeah,
was your freedom really worth this?
It was. We got a World Cup win today.
You did.
Oh wow!
Let's not talk about the soccer, please, or football, as normal people put it. God damn it. Anyway, we'll talk about Foxtrot and Death Roll next week when it airs, but it's a shame that we don't get to see the beauty that is Foxtrot just yet. But we'll talk about episode 5.
All right.
And our first fight was between Black Dragon and Bloodsport. Black Dragon, some would say, controversially losing the first fight. I thought Texas Twisted personally deserved the win. There's no controversy about this one. This was a cut and dry Black Dragon domination. I was very impressed.
Yeah. That last hit.
Yes.
Just sent it flying halfway across the box into the flex angle. Oh, that was good.
Obviously, Matt, I'm assuming you fought along. Well, maybe not fought them themselves, but I'm sure you've seen that team around quite a few times. How highly do you rate Black Dragon?
I fought General in 2013, and they just completely obliterated us. They just killed us so bad. So I knew that they can build a good robot, and that, they never built a heavyweight before, but, they definitely had the skills to do it. And obviously in this fight, it showed that the robot, when it works well, it works. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, it's definitely a contender.
Yeah, it was very impressive. You know, Bloodsport, I think, still suffering a few, you know, niggles early on. It's not quite at full, you know, fully tuned in yet.
Yeah.
But it still gave us, you know, some good hits early on. But that beta really, you know, that's the kind of thing we were kind of expecting from Hobgoblin back when we saw it in Robot Wars whenever that happened. And
We don't mention that.
Many moons ago.
Charlie, what did you
Live
think?
that one down.
Yeah, this was because I've actually been like on the Black Dragon hype train for a while now, and I knew it had the potential to pull off something like this, and I'm so happy it was able to work its full potential. I still feel kind of bad for Bloodsport because that's another design I think has a ton of potential in it. It was just a really, really bad draw to like have basically a full body spinner go up against a very thick front wedge, which we'll see also in the next fight.
Yes, we'll talk about that when we get to that. For me, you know, I think it's a good loss, if anything, for Bloodsport, because I think, you know, as I say, a lot of people kind of said, you know, it could have gone either way with Black Dragon and Texas Twister, you know, and it's obviously proven now that it's, you know, when it's dialed in, Black Dragon can really, you know, dish out some punishment. I think they'll be kind of happy the fact that they're not going to be, you know, seen as, you know, it was a poor loss. You know, they gave out some good hits, and, you know, they lost to a better machine. It's kind of, it's one of those things for them, unfortunately. But Anderson, you've been very quiet.
Well, no,
you've been very quiet.
What I was going to say. I was literally going to say that exact thing.
Oh. It's almost as if we've done this for a very long time, and we cover very similar points.
Start to read each other's minds a little bit.
Yeah, we're in sync these days. It's all good stuff. As for Black Dragon, good recovery. How far can this go? What do you guys think?
It depends.
I mean,
It does.
it has the potential.
I mean, my predictions list is all over the place right now. I don't know. I don't want to say anything. I can't ruin my reputation anymore. I'm sorry.
I got Black Dragon down as one of my dark horses. Like, out of all the, like, quote-unquote, like, new bots, like, new BattleBots entries, I have this and Cobalt as my two that have the most potential to take the nut, in my opinion.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, it's decent. It's certainly decent.
It's got the right shape to face something like a Bloodsport. It's not necessarily a full body spinner, but an overhead bar spinner up against a vertical disc, you're gonna have type advantage there. So if you drive well and hopefully don't kill yourself. I was a little worried for that little flamethrower on top again. I was expecting it to run around with his hair on fire again, but it didn't happen this time. So.
No, it managed to survive quite well.
The thing with Black Dragon is it has the potential to go far.
Yeah.
But whether it will, you know, deliver on that potential is anyone's guess at the moment. I mean, I've seen so much stuff so far that made me literally my chin hit the floor with shock. So it is one of those things, you know. I mean, I did predict Minotaur to win. What? Lol.
Well, we'll get to that hot potato. Don't you worry.
Oh yeah, I can't wait. Yeah.
I think we'll move on. We'll move on from that fight. I think, you know, fairly comprehensive for Black Dragon, you know, but Bloodsport won't be
great hits.
Yeah, they won't be too disappointed by losing to that team.
No.
Next fight sees Captain Shrederator and Witch Doctor. Now, this at least Shrederator kept working.
That's true.
It went the whole fight and didn't lose, which, considering how good Witch Doctor is clearly this season, that's fairly good. However, Witch Doctor is just a vastly superior machine, and they deserve the win.
I mean, pretty
this
much.
battle was very much just a repetition of the first one, I thought.
Yeah.
A flat.
They just didn't die in the middle.
Kill zone, gets hit by a vertical spinner and flies upside down. Easy.
Yeah. Matt, how good is Witch Doctor? No, how highly do you rate it?
I mean, I rate Witch Doctor very high. I mean, even after watching, you know, the Vegas stream.
Yeah.
I mean, Witch Doctor worked flawlessly during that. I mean, obviously, you know, its fight against Shatter was the robot's first fight ever, the new robot, so it had, you know, some big problems there. But yeah, I mean, they obviously fixed those for the Shrederator fight. So yeah.
Yeah, it was spectacular. You know, just the way that they drove around as well. You know, it just looked like it had a lot of purpose. It just looked. This is what I've been waiting for 4 seasons, really. Like, you know, Witch Doctor's always had that, you know, again, enormous potential. It's always kind of flattered to deceive, though.
And I mean, imagine how happy they are. I mean, they've been working on that robot so hard for, you know, 4 or 5 years now, and that it's finally looks like it's working perfectly. There's no they've had no stupid losses or no freak things happen. So yeah,
it's almost as you say, it's almost like all that hard work has just finally come to a head, and it's now ready to challenge. It's really strange, but like, dare I say it, like, can we count on Witch Doctor? Is it is it time?
I mean, it's potential. I mean, definitely. I think there's definitely reason there. I just feel happy for them.
Yeah.
They said that. I mean, as Craig Giles said, they're premier underachievers. So it's nice to actually see them finally doing well again.
Yeah.
And I think that I can definitely see them making the top 16.
Yeah,
easily at this rate.
Yeah.
I mean, they've already 2-0. And they're not. I mean, again, they won via the judges against Shatter, but they didn't really have a difficult fight against Shatter. No offense to them, obviously, but I think we can definitely see them getting through that. And if anyone was to predict Witch Doctor from this point to go all the way, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, I feel
Makes
very.
us want to think.
Yeah, I was going to say I feel very embarrassed about our predictions about none of us including Witch Doctor.
Exactly what I was going to touch on.
Dear me.
Watch this again. I don't actually know why.
Yeah, we know nothing. This is why we sit on the internet for hours and hours and don't actually go to BattleBots every year. Charlie, I want to come to you. I want to come to you and talk about Captain Shrederator.
So basically, for me, I'll be honest. After the Remars fight, I had like a lot of money on Witch Doctor, and this fight helped just reaffirm a bit of it. Because I'm glad they didn't reinvent the wheel with this new design. They took the elements that worked on last year's and implemented it into this one, and then improved upon things that had to get ironed out from last season. And also, like, fun fact, if you dig around Witch Doctor's Facebook to like before the 2015 season, they had a concept drawing of Witch Doctor. And it basically looks exactly like this version, the 2019 version. So it feels like this is the Witch Doctor that they were shooting for all along.
Yeah. I also loved how they they stripped back on the ribcage design at the back and put the big wedge on as well.
Yeah.
They've obviously got they've thought a lot about different modules for different machines. Like obviously they put the thicker top armor on for Shatter last week or whatever it was last time they fought, and they've now put this new front end on for Shrederator. With regard to Captain Shrederator, I don't think, again, it's not a bad loss because let's face it, Witch Doctor was very strong. But it's it's 0-2 now. It's unfortunate. I know they kind of were put in last minute because I think was it Chomp that had to pull out and they went in. I can't remember off the top of my head, but someone pulled out and they ended up going instead.
Chomp or Bellator, I think.
Yeah, I can't remember for the life of me.
Oh yeah. It was one of those two. Or no, I don't think Zoe was ever gonna go. I think she knew that she couldn't do it, and I think someone pulled out. I don't remember.
Yeah. So they ended up going, and I think they just kind of, obviously they were, regardless of who they were meant to fight in the first place, they ended up fighting Wan Hoo, and they unfortunately lost. And this was a definite curb stomping by Witch Doctor.
Yeah.
Where does Captain Shrederator go from here? Like, it's not a bad concept. It's just they've been unlucky. I think
it's a design that's been around for a long time. I think
it is.
I don't know how much it's been upgraded since then. I don't know all the processes. I know there's a lot of like battery chemistry changes and internals change, motors change. You know what I mean? But it's kind of it's one of the few shell spinners that we have that doesn't have an invertibility.
Or the ability to self-right. Exactly.
Yeah. That's always been its weakness. It's kind of the weakness of another robot we'll get to, Matt. You'll have something to say about that. It's one of those robots that it does have a lot of it does have kill potential. I mean, we saw that with in ABC season 2 where it destroyed Death Roll. It killed it.
Yeah.
It does have that kill potential. It's just it has a weakness and it gets exploited quite often.
They've been tweaking this design now since back in the early 2000s
with Frisbee,
with Frisbee Ultimate, and then Shrederator on the RFL scene and Combots, and man.
And even back then, they proved that the design can work when it works. It's very effective. It's just it keeps breaking.
It does keep breaking,
which is a problem, obviously, and it's just. Once they can figure out how to stop it from killing itself, and when they actually maybe make it invertible or give it a Shremek, it might actually be a serious contender.
Yeah.
Assuming it
I'll-
doesn't break like Bloodsport's Shremek, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Matt, you were gonna say?
I mean, honestly, I think full body spinners are highly disadvantaged to, because most robots now are just vertical spinner wedge pretty much.
Yeah.
And I think full body spinners are highly disadvantaged against that design.
Yes.
And that's a big problem right now because when half the field is a, vertical spinner with a wedge, then you have a big issue.
Yeah.
Yeah,
This is very true.
Yeah.
The current method does not suit Captain Shrederator at all.
Yeah. Yeah, or any full body spinner really.
No.
Yeah.
Very, very true. Very true.
I think also, sorry, I was
New
gonna say, I think-
Big
designs.
one. Go on, Charlie.
I was gonna say, I think also like another issue is they had such little time because they were reserved,
Yeah.
but also they're one of the like handful of teams this season that are also competing in the new King of Bots. So it's like now instead of having to focus your energy on one heavyweight, you got to focus in on two.
Yeah, which is why Jerome Miles didn't come back this year. He just picked one tournament and that was it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Red Devil was probably, I mean,
Red
little
Devil's
past
probably a bit sore.
little bit past repair.
Yeah, it's a bit sore these days. Is Red Devil.
Yeah.
I think that pretty much sums up Shrederator and Witch Doctor quite nicely. Witch Doctor looking very comfortable, 2-0. I think it's a. I wouldn't say it's a guarantee, but I think it's a safe bet for a top 16 place now.
I think their next two fights are going to ask a lot more of them now that
Yes.
we've seen what they can do. I think the producers are going to throw more fire at them. We'll see.
Yeah, we will see. We will see indeed. Our next fight sees our next BritBot, which is Jasper, and they take on
God.
Huge. Now Jasper, obviously, I know Ned out there who's appeared on the podcast this year has takes great offence to this robot, which is he describes it as quote unquote but Lightyear, which I don't think is very fair because I think it looks fantastic personally, but it just when you get an opponent like Huge, which is just so difficult to deal with,
Yeah.
like how do you even approach that thing?
They kind of had a good idea with trying to like use the hammer, at least when I read somewhere, like use a hammer to like basically shove a stick into a bicycle wheel to stop it.
Yeah.
It was a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, very tactical. Didn't work, but
No. I think they were struggling for. I can't remember what it was exactly, but they were struggling for just trying to drive it in the right place because Huge is this year with those new additional rubber guards on the rubber on the wheels, it's got so much more grip, and you can just see how much more well controlled it is compared to the amount of wheel spin that it had last time, where it's just sliding around the box.
last question: was Jasper's hammer like adjusted so it would like move slower, or is that literally how fast the thing moves?
I think it is gearbox controlled. I think.
Alright, cool. Okay, I was gonna say because Jesus, that's quite weird. That's quite sad if that is actually how hard it
I
is.
think it's kind of like Mad Catter in a sense where like they can adjust the speed if they want to have it as a grab or
Yeah,
a
that's fair
lifter or
enough.
something.
That's, yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
I have to come to Matt here. How good is Huge?
I mean, Huge is it's a good robot. I think they sort of did something similar to us where the weapon. I mean, last year I think they were running the 48 volt amp plus for the weapon, and
Yeah.
they had more power last year for sure in the weapon, but they were still burning it up, pretty much every fight, just like we were and lots of other people. So I think it's dialed down a little bit, but a lot more reliable, and it's obviously didn't split in half against Whyachi. I think they really just fixed all their issues from last year, all their big issues, or at least tried very hard to fix all their big issues.
Yeah.
So this is I mean, it'd be hard to build Huge better than they built it, I think.
Yeah.
I have to say, Matt, if I may, I think you are probably the best suited machine to fight Huge. I really do, because you have your weapon on a lifter as well.
Yeah.
Like I feel like you're the only thing that can hit them.
Yeah, because if Huge fights, even when he fought Biforce, it's the best vertical spinner in the world pretty much, and Biforce couldn't do anything because he's so high up in the air. I mean, if you're a vertical spinner, it's hard to hit the wheels because you have to hit directly from the side. That's the only way you're gonna hit them.
Yeah. So if you're horizontal, you're laughing against Huge. It's just anything else. It's just you've had it.
It's all about either reaching the body or just taking out the wheels. If you can't do either of those two things, you're probably gonna lose, to be honest.
Yeah,
Definitely.
Which obviously Jasper did do. I felt quite bad for Jasper, all things considered, because they've, they're a quote unquote rookie team in this competition. Obviously they've had experience. They've had experience in the UK and China and whatever else.
Yeah.
And imagine getting through, your first fight, as a new build, and you fight Huge.
Yeah.
That's a bad draw.
It was a very
Yeah.
bad job for them. But I think part of it was that like the producers were pretty much saying, sorry we gave you Son Whyachi first round, the worst possible matchup. Like we'll be a little bit nicer and give you a lifter this time.
Yeah.
Instead of the big horizontal.
Yeah.
And this fight reminded me of like the big kid at school picking on the little kid, hustling him into a corner, and like I get the end where like Jasper was trying to fight back, and Hughes was just sitting there like, yeah, come on then, come on, swing for me, come on.
There aren't many bigger kids than Huge out there, are there? Really?
No.
There's some, but not many. Charlie, any further thoughts?
I guess a couple things. First off, I found it amazing when Huge like just completely lifted up Jasper with his bar
and his wheel.
Yeah, it's like I thought that was an amazing moment. But I don't know. Like the thing about Jasper is, I think a lot of like maybe more casual fans may not know is that it's not really a completely brand new design. Like it's a new like build, but the concept was tested pretty well with Lieutenant Bam and This Is Fighting Robots, and even though it didn't reach the heights of your Spectres or your Tungstens, it still did pretty decently. So there is a good amount of potential in this design. It's just you're going against Huge. It's a tough draw from the jump.
Yeah, I imagine if they got the machine a bit more dialed in, then for Huge it might have been a different story. But it's just one of those unfortunate things for the team. And I think Tom, he's a smart guy. I'm sure he'll have some plans for Jasper later on. We'll move on to a quick behind the scenes segment, which was the interview with Gigabyte, which I found fairly interesting because obviously they kind of said we've refined this design for so many years, and they have done. It's been around for best part of a decade now. I think, but certainly over a decade, and the rest of it, and which eventually led to its fight with Minotaur, which also is a design that's evolved so many times over the years. And this fight, I don't understand. There's some people online that have said, I think Minotaur should have won this. Were they watching the same fight? Like,
This is a thing.
I've seen a few people commenting online on different forums saying, "Oh, yeah, Minotaur were the only ones spinning their weapon." I'm like, "Are you joking?" I mean, first of all, the impact noises that Gigabyte was making against Minotaur were glorious. The big thuds you hear, beautiful, beautiful. I'd love to hear that. And I always thought it was great tactics. They just kept spinning it up just enough to obviously knock Minotaur away. And every time they hit them, they were chipping away at those bottom panels which are holding the drum support, essentially just holding it off the floor. And they chipped away, and they got to a point where when Minotaur spanned the drum, they kept hitting the floor, and they couldn't spin up their drum anymore because they were just slowing themselves down and hitting the floor. I thought it was just it was a masterclass in how to beat Minotaur. It was great.
Yeah.
Obviously, Matt, you know a bit about that bit this season, but
well, because Minotaur lost the fight. I mean, their strategy was working though, because he was saying he was going to softly hit them with the drum and just rip away at the teeth. And after maybe 30 seconds to a minute, Gigabyte didn't have any teeth left.
Nope.
Like the 2 teeth were shattered. The Minotaur strategy worked. It's just he couldn't take Gigabyte's hits either. Then his weapon stopped. So it was once it got to the point when neither of them really had weapons working, Gigabyte was just able to wedge them around.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like Minotaur just I don't know how to put it, but they just were beaten. They were soundly beaten. It's crazy. Like I know they had issues with the weaponry and whatever else, but it's not looking good.
No, it's not, is it?
Yeah.
No, oh, sorry. Good.
No, even though they're 0-2 at this point, they're still Desperado, and there's still a chance you can make the 16 at 2-2. So it's not like they're out of the competition at this point. They're just learning more from every fight because it's a brand new robot for them.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say they've had 2 good losses as well. Losing to yourselves, you're quite a high caliber machine these days, and Gigabyte as well. They've got the pedigree of doing.
They have a Hall of Fame robot.
Yeah, exactly.
Technically.
Yeah, exactly.
If you look at it this way, when they fought us, they really weren't working very well at all. Like the drum was barely spinning. When they fought Gigabyte, it worked better, but it still wasn't its full potential, I would say. Yeah. So I think they just keep improving, then they have a good shot.
Yeah, there's another level to come, isn't there? Really for Minotaur.
I really I just want to quickly mention I appreciate the driving of Gigabyte in this battle.
Yes.
Because I thought it was this isn't me being a dick when I say this, but a lot of big spinners, the main idea is to just drive forward and hit,
Yeah.
But this was completely different. It was a ridiculously tactical battle between two very good drivers, obviously. And I was actually quite surprised, to be fair, by Gigabyte's driving, because like I said, I'm used to it just being a robot that just moves forward and hopes for the best when it hits something.
Speaking of forward, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but they were going around the sides. They were outmaneuvering Minotaur really well.
They were wedging. They were wedging Minotaur.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Well, brilliant. That's probably upset quite a few people, but oh well. It was really good driving, and I definitely, I think that's something that gets looked over a lot these days, unfortunately, when it comes to, robot combat. It's everyone's more like, oh, big spinner damage, and there's more to that, and this fight proved it to me. Of course, no one's going to be that. They're going to be like, whatever.
Are you okay?
I think not. I think it's a pretty important thing. Yeah.
I'm taking my anger out on idiot fans.
Yeah.
Charlie, hello.
Oh, wait. No, this one, I'll be honest, when I started off with it, I had my money on Minotaur over Gigabyte, because I guess, I know Gigabyte's got a ton of pedigree. It's one of the most famous robots in the entire world, and it's done fantastically in China. But I think given its reliability issues last season, and given how Minotaur was basically totally reliable last season, I figured, okay, someone's probably going to break on Gigabyte, and then Minotaur will take it out. But I was very surprised with how well Gigabyte held up and how well it was driven. I mean, I don't know if part of that's just because, they now have the ringmaster of Gigabyte, John Mladnick, back on this season versus, being off in China, if that's helped the team with the new build and with the better performance. But yeah, Gigabyte's looking really good this season. A very solid win against Kronos, and now this over Minotaur. I think it could have potential to actually make the top 16.
Yeah, I think that, they've obviously got, a lot of the issues dialed out from last year, and I think they've had a bit more time to prepare. I think, preparing two machines for two competitions and splitting your team definitely doesn't help you prep, and obviously all their focus this year is on BattleBots, and it's obviously helped them.
Do we think they could go 4-0?
Depends who they have.
Yeah.
I'm not going to commit to that until I see their next opponent at least.
Yeah, definitely.
No, after our predictions, mate, we best not.
Yeah. We'll leave that one right there. We'll move on to the biggest boy, Mammoth. Obviously, won their first fight. They're fighting Uppercut, which is a new. I think it's another MIT team, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Fight season.
And so, bit of context for those that don't know. Obviously, Mammoth is quite the machine. I think they had a lot of technical issues before going in, didn't they? They were struggling with, I think it was a drive problem. They had to take it out of the arena and go work on it some more, then put it back in the arena. Obviously, they added the flamethrowers as well. You can kind of tell that they were just kind of, the interview afterwards where Kenny says, I think. Says to Ricky Williams, he says, "Oh yeah, you're looking very sweaty." I think he was just done in after working so hard and getting the machine ready, and then ending up getting smashed up by Uppercut. I will say, the guy next to him, controlling I think it was either the weapon or the drive or something. He was loving life. He was loving the fact that Mammoth was on fire and dying. It was brilliant. What do we all think?
Best fight of the season.
Yeah, I think I'm glad. I think I'm glad. I thought Uppercut at least had a chance to win a fight here.
Yeah, they were actually very, very impressive.
Surprised me, genuinely surprised. That thing's got some power behind it. I just thought it was going to be a joke, but Jesus Christ, that thing is strong.
Yeah, I'm not sure about their dance moves. I think their dance moves are pretty weak, but I think the robot itself is much stronger.
I will say this, right? This is nothing to the actual battle, by the way. But the editing in this fight was atrocious. I don't know if anyone noticed it, but literally, Mammoth, in the space of 4 cuts, went from being on its back to being against the sidewall to being on its back again, the sidewall again.
I'll be honest, I didn't notice it, but now you say it, yeah, you're right. It wasn't great. Matt, obviously, I don't know how much you would have known about Mammoth's issues, but do you know what was going on with him?
With Mammoth, I think he just got hit. I mean, that's really hit. Uppercut's a serious robot, and Mammoth is not built to take hits from spinners. I mean, that's really. Yeah. I mean, Mammoth was designed to be a sportsman robot, pretty much. So when they first built it, they didn't really have spinners in mind, I guess.
No.
So yeah, Uppercut just sort of took advantage of that and just hit him on the side, and I mean that was pretty much it. I mean Uppercut hits hard.
It was pretty
I
much, yeah.
think a lot of people have underestimated Uppercut.
Yeah, for sure.
Yes,
'Cause
I agree.
I thought it was a joke entry myself.
I thought it had I thought it had at least some kind of semblance to any good vertical bar spinner. I mean, it's
Yeah.
We got Monsoon, so why not Uppercut? You know, it's
Yeah, exactly.
It's got that kind of feel, and it's got potential, man. It's an MIT team. They know what they're doing.
They're not stupid over
Yeah, but
there, are
Monsoon's British.
No,
Yeah.
even undergrad, man. They got pedigree.
they? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Charlie,
Man,
anything
he's-
to add?
I will say that like I had like a good amount of money on Uppercut. I remember I was talking.
You're just throwing your life savings at the wall here, man.
Yeah, I know. That's why I'm a broke college student, because I keep betting on robots.
Shouldn't do that, man. It's bad for your health.
I have a problem. But no. Yeah, my problem's making all these robots in RA2. So I was talking to like some Sam and like a few other people in a chat we have, and Oliver from the ESC podcast. When I told him I was betting on Uppercut, he was like, "Really, bold, Charlie." And seeing this, it went exactly as how I had hoped Uppercut would. You know, it's like Mammoth, I think, could do well against a vertical spinner, but it really just depends on the performance. And Uppercut was on very good form. I think if they were able to handle the gyroing a little bit more, then I think it could actually be a real dark horse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm very sad we didn't
all
get to
predicted
see
Mammoth,
the
didn't we?
fire. We didn't get to see the flamethrower.
We saw a catch fire though. That's
That's-
better.
We did see some fire in this fight. Yeah, this is true.
Am
This
I,
is true.
am I right in thinking that us three, we all predicted Mammoth to win this one, didn't we?
I did,
No,
yes.
I did-
I went for that
I predicted Uppercut. You forget.
Ah, you didn't.
match.
No.
It's all a
Yeah.
lie.
Check
all
the
a lie.
log.
It's all a lie. I'm
No, I'm
not
joking.
looking forward to moving on to the main event for predictions. Let's just not talk about that one.
Oh yeah.
We'll get to that later on. But Mammoth, I think they can be fairly happy considering, one, they didn't get too trashed, and two,
Yeah.
obviously they had some issues before going into the arena, so I think they'll be fairly satisfied with that.
And they kind of got a lift in the beginning too. I mean, they ended up flipping themselves, but they still,
Yeah.
had a grab on Uppercut.
Yeah, they did. They picked him up off the floor, but then they realised this isn't axe backwards. They can't just hold on to it. It just fell off. But I think Uppercut. I'm going to reserve judgment purely for the fact that Mammoth isn't the most competitive machine out there, and I think it'll be interesting to see how Uppercut deals with like a more serious entry, because I think they've still got a point to prove, but definitely a good start. Definitely a good start.
Yeah.
We'll move on to a team that did have a good start and a team that didn't so much, in Wan Hoo and Shatter, respectively. Interesting to see, I think there's a bit of a segment as well on Shatter in the pits where they were kind of, showing the damage post Witch Doctor, and there was nothing. It was, I mean, that was super interesting, and obviously a great testament to, the HDPE material that they use to protect the main frame of the machine. I will say though, they really dialed it in nicely in this fight.
Yeah.
It was beautiful.
Like, I think this is the most convincing Hammer performance I've seen since Beta. I think that's fair to say.
Yes, definitely.
Oh yeah.
I had Beta lucky flashbacks.
Yeah, it was just,
Definitely.
that additional top armor as well that Wan Hoo put on. They've got bent inwards, they've got bent outwards. It was brilliant. Shatter just kept on, raining down those hits, and they didn't need to wait for a good hit. They just kept going.
Yeah.
It's nice to see a competent Hammer again. In the UK we only really had Thor. Terahertz wasn't, obviously, and Beta though. Obviously, with the absence of Beta, it was nice to see that a good competent Hammer's coming back in again. I mean, what didn't Kenny say? Chris said it was hit 54 times.
54 times.
That's insane.
54.
They at least fired it
hits in
54 times.
3
Did they
minute
hit that
fight.
many
That's
times? Cool.
fantastic.
It's absurd. That is absurd.
I mean, that's redonkulous. But it's the fight hammers. That is what that is. It is that daft.
And the fact that it landed so many of those hits, I'd say it probably landed a third of the swings, which is pretty impressive for a Hammer robot.
Yeah, obviously, we saw the.
And Wan Hoo isn't exactly a big target.
No,
Yeah.
it's quite small. It's quite small. I have to say credit to Wan Hoo for keeping going as well, because obviously they had some difficulties in the fight before, and Steve was flexing there. He sent us his predictions in the chat. There you go.
I found it hot.
But obviously, Wan Hoo took some heavy hits from Shrederator in the previous fight. You know, obviously fortunate to win. You know, and they kept going after Shatter as well. And you know, that's a fairly competent little machine they've got going there. You know, they could take good credit for the taking on an experienced team in Shatter and not dying as well.
Yeah, like honestly, for me, I was relatively impressed with like Wan Hoo, even though it won against Shrederator, you could tell it had some really big teething issues and didn't have as much drive. But here, honestly, I dare say it was performing better. It was driving very well. It seemed to have a relatively decent amount of control. But the thing is, just Shatter worked how I hoped it would. It just completely outclassed it and showed that power of that hammer that we saw, in China on King of Bots and This Is Fighting Robots.
Yeah.
And finally got to see it here on American soil.
Yeah. I think Shatter is slowly playing itself into a top 16 spot with that. I mean, obviously, again, their next opponent is critical. I think if they end up getting a win there, they're in a really good position because it was very impressive as well. Like, it was good for the crowd. You got to see the hammer swinging down an awful lot. I think Wan Hoo are going to struggle because they won their first fight fairly unconvincingly, and in this fight they just got hit for 3 minutes basically. They got a few nibbles in with their disc, but it wasn't major.
Mm-hmm.
So
I mean,
I love the team though.
Shatter moves sideways.
Yeah, Matt.
Oh yeah, but I was saying is that there's a lot of 1-on-1 robots right now, but not all those are created equal. It depends who you fought. How convincing your win was. If you just got lucky, like Wan Hoo against Shrederator. I wouldn't say they got lucky, but like if you actually really beat your opponent, or you just barely made it out. So that all that factors into your ranking.
Yeah, I think Sawblaze's one-on-one is better than Wan Hoo's one-on-one. I think that's
exactly.
that's fairly easy to say.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Yeah.
I love the Wan Hoo team though. They're there to have fun, and they even said it in their end match interview that like they're here. Look at this crowd. Like it's pretty obvious that like for them it's like a win is just extra. They're just so happy to be there.
Yeah, this it's uncharted territory for the two Chinese teams, really, isn't it? It's all new for them, so it's good to see. They obviously picked up their win already, so that anything extra now is a bonus.
Definitely.
However, someone who isn't looking just to turn up and I suppose you are looking to turn up and have fun, Matt. But obviously you've got a bit of a bigger target on your back these days, and I think that's probably even bigger after your fight with Minotaur. You fight the family Hewitt and son of Whyachi. Now, obviously you fought Tombstone last season.
Yeah.
Did this give you kind of eerie flashbacks of that? Like, were you concerned by son of Whyachi?
I mean, obviously, anyone's going to be concerned about Son of Whyachi, but the one reason I wasn't too concerned about this fight is because, when you fight Tombstone, you just kind of need to survive. There's not like a mission, like exactly what you need to do to win that fight. You just kind of need to go in and see what happens. With Son of Whyachi, there's only one thing you need to do, and that's flip him over. And I knew that going into the fight. So when you have, when there's a definite way to win, that definitely, calms your nerves a little bit.
Sure.
And yeah.
Even the floor couldn't stop you. You went to box rush them, and it wasn't a dent in the floor. It was a valley. It was massive.
Yeah.
that whole tile was just like sunk a good couple of inches down.
Yeah.
And it was incredible. I mean, the driving as well. Again, you're renowned for your driving, but that was just stunning. There's no other way of putting it. It was amazing.
I mean, with Son of Whyachi, there's only one thing you can do, and that's to drive towards it. So, I mean, even when we hit the seams, it's like, okay, just keep driving towards them. Once you just gotta get past that, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Talk us through the fight then. Obviously, from your perspective, it ended up very well, but obviously it didn't start out as smooth as you might have thought.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like what I said before, there was one goal in this fight, and that was to flip him over. So it was, just get to him as quick as possible. We hit the seam in the floor, and obviously that wasn't a good thing. So we just sort of backed up, got around that. But by the time we got to him for the first hit, he was pretty close to being fully spun up. So I was just like, hit him as quick as possible before he's to full speed. And every time we hit him, he would slow down. So that was also really important. Hit him once, you'd get knocked away, just come back at him. And then, at one point we got a lift on him and took him to the screws and got him on top of there. And at that point, I'm like, if I don't flip him over here, we're probably going to lose because we'd already lost half our armor. And, one more hit could have taken off the other one. So, yeah, I mean, once he got off the screws and spun back up, I was like, okay, maybe we're not going to win this fight. I had a chance and sort of messed up. But, Yeah, I just kept hitting him with that one armor panel we had, and eventually he slowed down and started smoking, and I just flipped him over right then, and that was it.
I've never seen a man smile so much as you did after that fight. Like you were like, just the look on your face was brilliant. You know, sort of Whychachi's obviously very, very dangerous.
Yeah.
You know, does that, you know, and I imagine because you were at BattleBots back in the Comedy Central days, and obviously not competing as seriously as now, but you were about. Does this like give you a big sense of achievement in how far you've come in that time?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, that was like one of my idols, I would say. So to fight them is insane. I mean, even like fighting Donald Hudson in Vegas or really any of the teams here, it's. But I think Son of Whyachi is one of the ones that if I told myself when I was a little kid or something, I would have been like, oh no way, you're lying. But but yeah, no, it was insane to fight them. Yeah.
Chaps, what do we think of this fight then? I wouldn't say it's the best main event of the year. Not to disrespect you here, Matt, but I think it was certainly a solid fight. Surely.
Yeah, it was. It was. There were so many ups and downs.
I think it's main event of the season myself.
Yeah.
Oh right.
Definitely.
That's just me.
Yeah, I mean, I can see why it was back and forth. You saw sort of Whyachi spinning up and giving out the nice massive hits that you expect to see from that machine, and obviously top quality driving again from Matt. It was crazy. It was crazy. Charlie, hello again. I've come to you last again. I feel bad.
Oh, it's okay. I'm cool with it. Yeah, like honestly.
Yeah.
Honestly, like I had in my head like what I was thinking how this fight would go, and it went exactly how I envisioned it. Like because the thing is, like Matt, you basically just figured it out pretty quickly. Like the best way to beat Son of Whyachi is just to smother it and then topple it over, and you did that like flawlessly. Mm-hmm. And I'd say like honestly, this is gonna make Whiplash probably in a very good spot to return to the top 16. But on the other hand, like you said at the top of the show, Sam, like this is a good loss. Like losing to Whiplash, I think is not going to be a big black mark on Son of Whyachi and its chances on making the top 16 itself.
Yeah, yeah. And now comes to confession time. Myself and Anderson both actually said that Whiplash was going to win the fight right up until Friday morning, where we both said Son of Whyachi was going to win. So sorry for losing faith.
That's okay.
Literally changed it. I realised the last second.
Dearie me, it was
I've
very
picked against you twice, Matt. I'm a terrible
myself.
I am forever a whip lad.
I mean, but where do you go? Like, obviously, you've won 2 fights at this point. You think, okay, Minotaur and Son of Whyachi, 2 very established teams. Like, at this point, do you kind of think, okay, who's next, or do you think, okay, maybe our luck's going to change eventually, or what goes through your mind at this point?
I mean, obviously after last season, our goal was to not lose any fights, I would say.
Oh, really?
So that's kind of where we were at now. We beat Minotaur. It wasn't necessarily a fully working Minotaur. And we beat Son of Whyachi. Now it's just kind of fix the robot and wait to hear who our next opponent is and just plan for it. Because, I mean, if you look at last season, White Force won because he was undefeated. He didn't lose to anyone.
Right.
So I think everyone wants to go undefeated and wants to be prepared for everyone. So that was kind of the mindset for this season. But also, it's sort of easier said than done. I mean, everyone's so good this year. It's hard to be prepared for everything.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll see. You have some more stern challenges later in the season, but for now, that pretty much rounds off the episode. And what do we think overall? I mean, I thought it was fairly solid. We've hit a nice stride now. Yeah. Yeah, I think there was
a lot of good fights. I think there was a lot of really good. The episode started out very strong with two fights that kind of had similar themes, where you had a vertical disc and a bar, a shell spinning, and both times the vertical weapon wins. It was cool to see Huge again, back with its regular wheels, and Jasper, which was just a plastic tank. It's a good a good comparison to how it showed up in China as was it Lieutenant Bam. Gigabyte, it's cool to see it actually work really well now. I think it's a really scary thing going forward. It's finally, because when it showed up as Invader, it didn't shut off for 2 hours. And then as Gigabyte last year, it was very underwhelming. But now it's a force to be reckoned with. And I was sad to see Mammoth get destroyed, but Uppercut, it's just I think people really underestimated that robot. So, and I liked Shatter. Everything was good. All the fights were good.
There wasn't a fight where I thought, Joe, I'm going to turn this off because it's just boring. Like, like I think so far there's been a fight per episode where I've thought, it's not the best.
Yeah, maybe for this one it was Jasper huge because Jasper just couldn't put up a fight.
For me wasn't that good.
Yeah, but I mean it's
still solid.
Got some good hits.
Yeah, it's still solid. Yeah, absolutely.
It's still solid. Yeah.
Yeah.
But like Jasper, really.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I like the fact like this episode. It was all the fights were relatively clear cut. There wasn't a really big, controversial.
No more
moment.
Controversies. Please be done with this.
Honestly, I've had enough of...
Next episode.
Next week, every fight is judge decision territory. No.
The entirety of the world is throwing a major wobbler on social media.
Yeah. We'll get a version of the Royal Rumble and be like, here comes Chop.
Oh no, not again.
London Riots 2019. BattleBots fuel.
Dear me. Anyway, that's summed up episode 5 of the 2019 BattleBot season. Matt and Charlie, thank you very much for joining us. It's been a pleasure again.
Yeah, for sure. It's always fun to be on this podcast.
Absolutely. Hope to be on a few more times before the season wraps up.
Hell yeah. Anyway, with that said, I've been Sam Elliott 64.
I've been Anson 9132. It was Guru.
I've been Steve the American Killjoy.
I'm Matt Vasquez from Whiplash.
Who's next?
I'm Charlie Hubbard, not coming in on cue.
It's always really. I always like leaving that little bit at the end, like really ambiguous. Who's gonna jump in? Who's gonna be that guy? It's great. And the three of us, at least, will see you next week for the 6th episode of the 2019 BattleBot season, and we'll also finally see Foxtrot versus Death Roll. And we'll see you then.
That mystery will be revealed.
Exactly. Who won it? We'll find out. See you then.